Well, hello again, everybody. Welcome to Home Ice Advantage, week 2 of our brand new hockey show. I'm Ted Sobel. He's Jonathan Davis. John, how's life, buddy? I didn't see you last night at the game when the Kings lost to those raging Seattle Kraken.
Yeah, life is good. It's going to be a great hockey day today. We got 10 games. We got Vegas and Colorado. That's I think after last night's game with Seattle, kind of puts Vegas in a much better spot. But yeah, no, life is good. Got to watch some good hockey games last night, notwithstanding the Kings, and a really nice goal from Quinton Byfield. That I don't understand why it counted. It should never have counted.
Now, explain that to me, because that didn't pretty much come up amongst everyone.
Yeah, I mean, I watch the replay. I'm like,
okay,
he is using two sticks. He's got Shane Wright's stick in one hand and his in the other. And maybe it just kind of tells you where Seattle is at, that Wright didn't even say anything. I mean, that was holding the stick.
Okay, I saw that for a brief moment, but maybe you saw more replays than I did. I only saw a couple of quick ones, while we're watching the game. But I noticed that Wright was holding his arm at part of the time, and that could have been a holding penalty against Seattle while he's trying to get his stick on his other hand, which is one of the weirdest moves I don't know if I've ever seen that, to be honest.
I've never seen it, but regardless, hey, notwithstanding, it should have been a penalty. Doesn't take away the creativity and just a beautiful goal by Byfield. And it's been quite a run from Byfield. I saw Frank Saravelli had tweeted out something, pretty much almost like a point a game since the beginning of February.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's been a great run for Byfield. Disappointing losses, as any losses this time, but Edmonton losing as well. LA holds court in second spot.
They're in a good spot.
I think that's pretty much where they're going to.
Right now, what about this block shots? And your video's freezing a little bit. Your block shots 30-10 last night in favor of Seattle. I looked it up today. The high this season was 35 by any team. And I mean, that's about as good as you can get.
Yeah. I mean, look, if you're, you're blocking shots, if you don't have the puck on your stick. So, and you're doing everything you can to help your goal. I guess, look, there's the commitment level from Seattle. Right. So I guess I have, outside of Shane Wright's non-protest, look, they did. Yeah. They made life very tough for LA. 30 block shots is very impressive. At the end of the day for Seattle, I mean, it really doesn't. It means nothing for a team that's going golfing, in the next couple of weeks. But hey, 30 blocks is 30 blocks.
Yeah, exactly. The other thing I was looking at from last night's game, Kings are 0 for 3 in the power play again. Not a lot of great aggressive work. Still looking for the perfect pass too much, in my mind. Your thoughts?
Well, I'm trying to remember now. Did any of the power plays come after Kempe left the game? I'm trying to remember.
You know what? I'm not sure.
So that would impact it. Look,
sure.
I'm still one that believes that I would still substitute 55 and 11 on the top unit. That would be my feeling. Right. Ted, watching, being at the game prior to Seattle. Saw it again live, so my eyes were definitely not deceiving me. It sure seemed that when the puck was on Anze Kopitar's stick, there was no question that he was passing and not shooting at times when he had the opportunity to shoot. So I would like Kopitar to be more of a dual threat. When he's got a good shot when he takes advantage of it. If that aspect of the game is not going to change, then I don't see. I think the power play will continue to struggle if he is not going to at least, take a shot once in a while.
Yeah. And I would think that if Jonathan Davis sees that, every coach in the league sees that, right? So
I'm not very bright, so yes.
but what I'm saying is, if they notice that, what's the first thought on their mind? It's like, okay, we don't have to double team him. We don't even have to single team him in some respects because he's not a threat to shoot.
Right. Well, we can cheat more towards, Kempe and Fiala or Byfield, who's, when Byfield does get the time. But you're going to cheat to other players. You can back off on Kempe when you know that he's not there.
Right.
You know that Kopitar's not going to shoot.
Kopitar's not, right. Now, speaking of Kopi, I spoke to him a couple of nights ago after the nice win over Edmonton. Yes, the Oilers were very shorthanded that night, but the Kings took care of business.
Condors, Ted. It was not the Edmonton Oilers.
The Condors, I didn't see that logo on their jersey. Sorry. I looked, but it wasn't there. But, bottom line is you got to get 2 points. However, it doesn't matter. I mean, Edmonton can use that as an excuse too. And every team will try that during every game of the year for the most part. So you get the 2 points and it's totally forgotten the next day. It's old news already, right? Let's hear from Kopi after the 3-0 win. And it was interesting how the team reacted to that baby.
It's a confident group, yeah. I mean, that's what we'll give you. We've been playing pretty well. Some nights, not necessarily the greatest hockey, but still gets it done. So that's something we want to continue building and make sure we're ready when playoffs roll around.
Does it tell you something about the team, though, that even on your best nights, you're still finding ways, and only good teams tend to do that?
Yeah, I mean, of course, you got to find a way to win hockey games in different ways, and I think the biggest attribute is it's really, the scoring's been spread throughout the lineup, really. I mean, yeah, you have Juice and Kevin getting 30, but everybody else, has been chipping in, and it's on any given night, and it's great to see.
With this being an important game to get home ice, potentially in the first round, right? What does it mean to you guys in a different way, because you've been so great at home this year? Because in the past, home ice has not really meant that much to a lot of teams in the playoffs.
I mean, listen, there's going to be times in the playoffs where you got to win on the road too. So, we have confidence in his team. Would it be nice to start on the road? Of course. Or at home, sorry. Of course, but it's something, and yeah, there's there for taking, obviously, but we're going game by game and building our game. So when the first game rolls around, we'll be ready.
I think they'll be ready too, and they'll be ready for a couple of different reasons, don't you think, Jonathan? Just the fact that I think they don't particularly like the Oilers or the Condors, whatever you want to call them.
Well, I mean, look, you any athlete. I mean, you got an elite athletes love the competition, and for them, I mean, extra incentive. I mean, you've got a team that's knocked you out of the playoffs 3 years in a row. You don't need any motivation other than that. The cup for sure, but you need that motivation. They don't need any more motivation than wanting to beat the Oilers. So it'll be interesting. What happened on Saturday against Edmonton, the result is all that matters, as you correctly point out, but that's not obviously the team they're going to see in the playoffs. And hey, Connor, Leon, Kane, we'll see about Trent Frederick. That was interesting. I mean, that was a guy that they brought in, but was limited. Played seven minutes and change that night, and he trying to come back from a high ankle sprain. He showed it was hard for him, and so I don't know how much of a factor he'll be. But at the end of the day, no Connor, no Leon. It'll be different when the puck drops, either on Sunday the 20th or
the final
Monday,
regular season game too. They play, right. Well, but they play each other one more time. True. Is that correct?
Yep,
right.
That's true. One
and the fact that that's at Edmonton, does that mean anything, or it's just another game to you?
It's just another game. I mean,
that's right.
I would, I expect Leon to be back before that game, so it'll definitely be different for sure. I don't know about Connor at that point, but we'll see. At the end of the day, look, I think the other thing you have to take into account, Ted, by the time that game comes around, I mean, who knows where the standings are, and it may not mean anything for home ice advantage. So, that's another thing to look at when you're that game may be, I could see that game being a testy game and message sending type game more than anything.
And we'll see how many playing minutes guys get too, if it doesn't mean anything.
Correct.
Yep. We also spoke with Alex Laferriere after that Edmonton win the other night. So let's hear from the young King forward.
How much of a preview was this between what we could potentially see in the first round?
Yeah, I mean,
you got to take it for what it is. I mean, they have some key parts out of their lineup right now, but I mean, you never know what's going to happen in playoffs too. So those guys could be bumped up and not be able to play in some of those games. And I think for us, it was just about showing our best and kind of going out and not giving them much, and yeah, just take it for what it is.
Maybe it wasn't the flashiest win of the year, but what does it say about the way that the team kind of played defensively to not give that group a ton of opportunities at any point in the game?
Yeah, like I said, just try and not give them anything. You know, it's, I mean, we're a really good team, and I think most of our losses we kind of bite ourselves in the foot. So I think for us it was kind of about limiting those mistakes and trying to give them nothing and then capitalize on our opportunities.
As much as this game gives you a boost to the potential home ice in that first round, right? So what does it mean to your club, considering how well you guys have played this year, as opposed to in general, home ice has meant a lot in the playoffs to a lot of teams?
Yeah, I mean, it's huge. I think home ice is huge. We want to play in front of our fans and give them a show. And, yeah, obviously I think the past 3 years I don't think we've had home ice. I've only been here for 2, so I don't really know. But, yeah, I think it's huge. I mean, we love playing in front of our fans, and they give us such a good boost of energy. So it's huge for us, and we want to play in front of them as long as possible.
Alex, you've been with Kevin and Hugh for a while now. And particularly Kevin, what's the element, what's the thing that he brings to that trio?
Yeah, I think just how dynamic he is. I think his skill is unbelievable. I think he's one of the most skilled players in this league, and I think you can see that on a night-to-night basis. And he's just such an unbelievable player and such a great guy. And yeah, he's been huge for me. I'm a younger guy, so he's been kind of keeping me under his wing and talking me through some stuff. So he's been such an unbelievable guy to me. And then, yeah, I'm just so happy for him, and he's just such a dynamic player.
Okay, so that's Alex Laferriere. I want to get your thoughts, John, on his skating, his ability, and his speed. To me, I think when he comes down the wing, he looks faster than I thought he might have been when I'm watching him on TV. Your thoughts on that?
You know, I don't have much. I'll be honest with you, Ted. I haven't really paid much attention to Laferriere. You know, I focus more on the types of goals that he has scored, because that, to me, you know, he can shoot from deep, he can score from distance, but is willing to get in close to score goals. That's an aspect of his game that I have focused more on. But now you've given me a homework assignment for Thursday night when Anaheim comes to town. I do want to just circle back just to the Seattle game last night. One, it was the first time in maybe 6 weeks the Kings have given up goals.
We're having issues with your audio, by the way. Your audio is freezing. I don't know if you could do anything.
Any better now?
So far.
How about now?
So far.
Are we good? So I was saying, you know, they hadn't given up 2 goals in a period in about 6 weeks. It's the first time in 8 games they had given up 1 goal in the first period.
How amazing is that, though?
Yeah, it's incredible. And only the second time in 16 games that they had given up a goal. The other one was the Boston game, the Lindholm goal with, 16 seconds into the period.
Exactly.
But, think about with last night, who wasn't in the lineup for LA? No Doughty, no Edmondson last night.
Yep.
Good for, I'm surprised that's the first game that Edmondson's missed, I think.
I believe.
That's, for a guy that's, that's been more playing like closer in the 60 game range, he's always dealt with injuries. Good on him. And I'm guessing for Drew, look, Drew has addressed the fact that he's going to have to deal with that ankle injury that he suffered, in the preseason game against Vegas. And, last night, as good as an opportunity, for him not to play.
Exactly. And
I wonder if he even sits out the Anaheim game. I mean, there's no need.
Why not?
Right. Save him.
Yeah, this is too important, this stretch here, where you want guys as healthy as possible when the playoffs start, blah, 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 every damn cliche you could think of.
But it's true. I mean,
of course it's true. That's why it's a cliche.
True. And so, I wasn't surprised. Like, I had been talking about a couple of weeks ago when Drew brought it up. I'm like, I just thought there'd be some back-to-backs that he would miss.
Right.
But yeah, if I'm LA right now and yeah, why not? You're playing an Anaheim team that you should be able to beat without Drew. You beat them without Drew when he was hurt. You've got enough guys back there. So I'm interested to see how they manage the minutes of both Doughty and even Edmondson for the next game.
Right. Let's hear from Jim Hiller speaking after the Edmonton win 3-0 against the shorthanded Oilers.
13 straight starts, 2 goals or less, 5 shutouts for Darcy. Is he your team MVP?
He is our backbone. And you can ask me again next game, too. Same thing. He is our backbone, and he has been. He's played very well.
Speaking of stats, Kevin gets to 30 goals.
Yeah.
He himself said that his season's been up and down. Yet he reaches, gets to that mark here. How would you look at his season and the stages that it's gone through, and even with how he's playing right now?
Season's probably aged both him and I, to be honest with you. I think it's aged him, but I hope it's aged us both in a good way. He's playing his best. I'm going to say over the last week, he's played as well as I've seen him play. So we got a ways to go. But if you've noticed him back checking, lifting sticks, forechecking, he tracked somebody down the other night, stole the pucks. Beyond the 30 goals, and I'm really happy for him because he hasn't had the best season, and he's sitting here with 30 goals. That's not easy to do. But right now, the way he's playing, couldn't be happier with him.
You also called it, though, Jim. You said just, late January, early
Yeah.
February, this was going to happen.
Well, it wasn't a straight line from January, trust me. But right now, it's where he needs to be. Yeah, it wasn't a straight line, though.
Another great stat. You're the best team in the league in the first period. And that should mean a lot,
Got
right?
that from you.
Always want to get off to a good start. So how much do you stress that with the guys?
Well, yeah. I mean, that's really important. It is. I think our third periods have been pretty good, too, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know the stats. Yeah, you want a good start, you want a good finish, you want a good middle. You know what I mean? So it's hard to choose one or the other, but we'll take the first and third specifically because that's where our strongest, and we'd like to be better in the second. But good starts are always important because you put yourself behind the 8 ball, and we're a team, we get the lead, we play a better game when teams have to come and chase us a little bit. So, that probably has led to some of the success.
Jim, as much as home ice has not been an advantage that strong in the playoffs the last several years, how much does it mean to you guys because of the way you are playing on home ice if you can get it in that first round?
Well, I mean, we'd certainly like to earn it. You know what I mean? For some reason, this year in particular, we played extremely well here at home. So you'd like to have that advantage. But there's lots of hockey left to play, and you can't look past anybody. Everybody in the league is, you've seen us play enough times. We've probably had 5 or 6 wins that haven't necessarily been come down right to the wire in the end. And it doesn't matter who we play. So we got to make sure we're just taking care of business one game at a time. We'll see where it lands.
There you go. So that's Jim Hiller of the Kings. And it was interesting because I did want to get definitely his thoughts on that first period advantage for this team, which is just unusual for any team like this from a consistency standpoint.
Yeah, I mean, look, there's, I highlight it because I've highlighted it for quite some time, partially from a betting standpoint.
Yeah, exactly.
Which, is important for me. But look, it's not like anybody else is doing this. So,
exactly.
If it was something that was common, it wouldn't be so significant. But it is, and as he said, you're not having to chase the game, and puts you in a good position that now teams have to play Kings hockey, and they play Kings hockey better than most other teams play Kings hockey. Right. So that's good. I like his comments about Fiala, about the fact that it hasn't been a straight line, that he's been playing his best hockey. I think he's had, it may not have been a straight line from January to March. I think that line has been straighter more often than it's been curved. I think that you watch Fiala, and I've been a guy that is, just said the risk reward to his game is it just isn't worth it. But I agree. I see what Hiller's talking about, that there's a commitment to the defensive side of his game, or at least there's less risk to his game that he's not putting himself into position. If he's chasing, it's because he's not because he's turned the puck over, but because he's made a commitment to defense. So, good on him that he has, that he's done what he's done. And, when you hear Alex Laferriere talking about what Fiala has meant to his game, I don't think, I don't know the last time I ever heard a player, a teammate of Fiala's saying something like that.
Interesting point.
So you hear what Jim says, you hear what Laferriere says, take them for their word, and you watch Fiala's game on the ice. And so, hey, it takes some people a little longer to mature than others, but it sure seems that his game has matured.
Okay, but here's the word that I like to use because it's been stuck in my brain for 50 years of following this game, right? Okay. And every single mentor has used this word, and it comes down to Fiala and Kuzmenko, both of them, commitment. If you have the commitment, and you got to have that to play any defense, always, in every sport, right? That's an effort. That's not just talent. That's an effort. And these guys are coming through. And how much of that is, okay, they need to do it or they want to do it? It doesn't really matter. They're doing it, and the coaching staff's getting through to them.
Absolutely. I mean, right. Power play is about skill. Penalty kill is about commitment. And playing defense is about commitment. So, I can't remember who I was talking to, but there seems to be a level of, I don't necessarily I'm not going to liken it to 2012 and 2014 because every team is so different, but Ted, this group does seem to be a lot closer than I think I've seen in recent years. And that's something, that Dean Lombardi back in his day was so, it was so important to him to really build that family. And look, it's important in any way. If you have guys that will, play for the guy next to you is what they always talk about. I kind of get that sense with this team, and I'm not in the room, but it's just a feeling I have that there is more of a play for the guy next to you attitude this year than maybe in the last couple of years, at least the last 3, let's say.
Right. I totally agree. But it also, it's great in the regular season, but if it's not totally there in the postseason, along with special teams have to be solid, then it doesn't matter because you got to do that in the playoffs more than ever.
Well, sure. The game's different. I mean, you have to raise your, right. As we always say, as I've said to you before, there are guys that will get you there. And then there are guys that, get you to the playoffs. And there are other guys that will carry you through the playoffs. And so they need Fiala to continue to be one of those guys that gets you through and not just help you get there.
Yep. So there's 5 games left for the Kings, and we'll get back to them in a little bit. But some guy named Ovechkin has had a pretty good week, don't you think? Not too bad. All I can say is I think this is where we bring in Dave Taylor to introduce our show.
This is Dave Taylor from the Triple Crown line, and you're watching Home Ice Advantage, all hockey talk with Ted Sobel and Jonathan Davis.
Well, we had to get a little bit of that sort of a Kings Hall of Fame kind of a feel to it with his number 18 up there in the rafters where it belongs from the Triple Crown line. Dave and I talked briefly about OV the other night, having dinner together. I want to get your thoughts on where this stands in your mind. It's a number that most people thought, oh, you know what? I mean, he's got a chance, but now he's going to be 37 and 38 and 39. It's just not likely. And here he is. He's probably going to go well over 900. So what are your thoughts?
I mean, look, I like many, didn't think that he was going to pass Wayne Gretzky. Greatest goal scorer? Sure, absolutely. Not even a question. I mean, the fact that you know where he's going to be on the ice and you still can't defend it.
Yes.
Tells you all you need to know. So yeah, he is the greatest goal scorer, and we shouldn't take that, there's nothing you can take away from him for that, but he's not, Wayne did so much more, his game was so much bigger than just scoring goals. And, so I'll put him in the in the category of.
Oh,
yeah,
your audio's freezing again.
The Selkie. Oh, sorry though. He's not winning the Selkie there, Ted. He's not. Yes. He's not killing penalty. Like he's one dimensional, but he's the greatest one dimensional goal scorer. So like, why I'm not going to just enjoy it.
That's who he is, and that's fine.
Right. Yeah. And that's fine.
It's his own version of his greatness. That's who he is.
Right. And I think, we should just to be able to witness this. I mean, look, you and I are old enough that we witnessed both. We've witnessed so many of Gretzky's records, and now we're seeing Ovechkin do something. Hey, look, my son, who knows if he'll see someone break Ovechkin's record? Could it be Austin Matthews at some point? But hey, it's fantastic, and I'm happy that he did it with one team.
Yeah, that is nice.
Yeah,
that is nice. You don't see that very often in any sport anymore. Let's hear from Ovechkin and Gretzky after he got the tying goal, which was 894 a few days ago at home against those incredible Chicago Blackhawks.
What were the emotions like when you went over and saw your family and then bowed to Wayne?
Yeah, I'm still like a little shaking, and still like can't believe it. It's nice to my family here, my mom, my wife, my kids, father-in-law. Lots of friends came from lots of different cities, and it's how I said it's history. It's how I said it's great for a game. It's great to be here. So it's special.
Wayne, what was it like when he bowed?
I'm sorry?
When he bowed to you, what was that like?
Hey, listen, first of all, it was a pleasure to be here. I remember I texted Alex at about 798, and he went 2 games without a goal, and I told him, I said, you got to relax. I said, you're going to get 900, don't worry about it. 2 games to him probably felt like 25 to other players. But listen, we always talk about our game, the players who were in it, from Gordie Howe, Bobby Orr, Mario Lemieux, Messier, on. And we wonder, okay, what's going to happen when those guys retire? And along came Sidney Crosby and Alex Ovechkin. Alex has been so great for City of Washington. He's been so great for the National Hockey League. And he's encouraged so many kids in his home country of Russia to play the sport of hockey. He's been nothing but a champion, and I'm so proud that we're tied. I can live with that for 24 more hours. I can still say I'm tied for the most. I felt really bad for that youngster who had the breakaway in the empty net. I kept thinking, okay, do you go around the net?
I tell I don't want an empty net.
Yeah, okay. I'll take every empty net goal I could get. And I know you would too. But you know what? It was a wonderful night because both teams played hard. I'm so impressed by what the Washington Capitals have done over the last year, the record they have. And, people don't realize this because I went through what Alex is going through. It's hard on your teammates, too. It's joyful and it's exciting, but they feel the pressure and the stress, and they have to answer all the questions also. So my hat goes off to the entire organization. I'm so proud of the fact that the city of Washington has become such a great hockey city, and Alex obviously is a huge part of that. More importantly, their team is winning now, and it's icing on the cake that when he breaks a record, I'm so proud of the fact that my wife Janet and I are going to be here like Colleen Howe and Gordie Howe were when I broke his record, and that's what our game is all about.
Okay, well, that's where we differ there, Wayne, because your memory is bad. Gordie Howe was not there when you broke his record. And that's a separate issue. But before we get to that, let's hear from Caps head coach Spencer Carberry on Ovi doing it at his age.
Wayne's the greatest player to ever play the game. And Wayne was talking to us about this. He had 9 goals in his last season. Right now, he was a pass first guy. But at 39 years old, to be scoring at the clip that he is, almost as high as he's ever scored, even at 25, 27, 28, broken leg, all the stuff that it's unbelievable.
It really is unbelievable. I mean, just the fact, if you're doing that at 35 and 36, that's phenomenal. But 39, that's a whole different story.
I mean, look, what he's doing. You look at what Sidney Crosby's doing in Pittsburgh at his age. Another year, 20 plus years of averaging a point a game.
Yep.
It just. I'm more surprised with Ovechkin, because I just didn't think I just didn't think he had the interest to continue to do this.
Right. And the money's different too. When you're making this kind of money, you don't need it anymore.
Right. But I think that, winning the Stanley Cup changed a lot for him.
Yep.
I think, and then just, staying healthy and, I guess, you could just, you had a point where you just taste it. So, no, it's remarkable to have this many 30-goal seasons. And that's why, Ted, again, bring it back to a betting standpoint.
Yeah.
I think his projected goal total was like 28 or 29 and a half. It was under 30. And I was just like, are you kidding me? The guy's had 18 years of 30 goals. Like, I don't need him to score 40.
Yeah.
But you're telling me like he's going to score less than 30? I didn't see it. Not with the chase going on.
Yeah, but if it was 39 and a half, I don't think you would have had an ounce of interest in the overs. That's insane at this stage.
No, of course not. But it wasn't.
Exactly.
It wasn't. So I just, hey, good on him. And again, the fact that he got himself, he was able to rehab and get himself back after the injury.
Right.
It's great. And so, enjoy this while you can. I'm interested just to see how the Caps play, going forward into the playoffs, because we've talked about. I think their play's been really sloppy, and so now it's time. And Wayne talked about it about how this weighs on your teammates. I thought that was a great point. Like now
it is, and now you can forget about it. It's like, okay, we're on the playoff hunt right now.
Exactly. So now let's go back to playing structured hockey again. So there you go.
Bingo.
And
all right.
So, by the way,
yes.
What is it? Thursday night? Their rematch against Carolina.
Okay.
Last week when they met, they had that nasty brawl. The end of the game, Jalen Chatfield, the takedown on Connor McMichael, and Rod Brindamore came to Chatfield's defense yesterday, just saying that, you guys have no idea what you're talking about, that, these types of fights happen all the time, or not, they happen more often than you think. And, but there was definitely bad blood. So I do wonder if Ovi plays that game. Not that anyone on Carolina is going to go target Ovi, but I just wonder with what potentially could happen in that game if that's one that he doesn't play.
Well, that's interesting. By the way, this picture of Ovi with the cup, I took that picture. He was right in front of my face on the ice there that day. He got so close. I said, "You can't be doing this. This is an 8x10 glossy, baby." That's like his passion. And John, I mean this, his passion when he won the cup is the most I've ever seen of any player in any sport when they won a championship. He was insanely phenomenal with his passion that day.
I'm trying to remember. I mean, I was there that night.
I remember. That was in Vegas.
Yep. Yeah. No,
just the way. Remember when he jumped off the bench?
That passion continued, Ted. That passion continued as he was, drunk in the fountains of Washington.
That's a different kind of passion.
Yes.
Can't say he doesn't celebrate, baby. What can I say?
No, you can't.
Okay, so we just finished the Great 8 watch, and I lived the Gretzky watch right here. Okay. Yes. This was the game notes after the Kings took care of biz on 8:02 when he broke Gordie Howe's record. So it was either the night before or 2 nights before. I forget now, but they were in San Jose as part of the Gretzky watch, and Wayne tied it late in the game with with Gordy at 8:01. So he did his post-game interview, and we talked about, okay, the next game coming in, Vancouver's there, and is it going to happen? Blah blah blah. And Gordy was there in San Jose because he was following him around like Wayne followed Ovi around for a handful of games. And I know that I don't even recall that Gordy went up on the podium. I think he pretty much, guys got him on the side and they asked his feelings and all that. And he was tied and fantastic. They took a few pictures and they're done. So I'm walking out of the room, and coincidentally, here comes Gordy about the same time, right? So I just tapped him on the shoulder and said, "Hey, this is fun. See you tomorrow night or 2 nights, whatever it was, at the Forum against Vancouver." And he goes like this. He goes, "Shh, don't tell anybody. I ain't going." And I said, "What? What do you mean you're not going?" And he said, "I'm exhausted." He says, "Me and Colleen, we got to go home. I need some rest. I don't want to travel anymore. He's going to break the record. It's all going to be good. And then I'll see him the next time after that. I don't want, it could take 5 games. It could take 5 minutes.
Right.
So I don't feel like chasing around. So whatever happens, happens, and we're good." And I told Wayne, and that's it. So Wayne forgot that, unless he was talking about, I think Gordy was there when he broke the points record. That's possible, but he wasn't there for the goal record. Anyway, so that all happened, and then this picture happened.
Well, look,
with
Ted,
me and Wayne.
you were there and I was there. That's all that matters.
Exactly, and that was great. And then this picture, the story behind this picture is in my book, Touching Greatness. We never take pictures in the locker room, but Wayne said, "Ted, you're the last one left. We got to take a shot. You're the only one I didn't get a picture with." Which is pretty neat stuff. And awesome. Gordy was unbelievable that whole time. He was so accessible. He wanted to talk about everything. And he was just a wonderful guy to be around. Did you have a chance to talk to him at all? Do you remember during that time?
I did not.
Okay.
I've never had the pleasure of talking to Gordy.
Oh man, he was just an incredible guy. He really was. So anyway, so that's the story behind that. And now we can forget about it. Now here's where I stand on this. Okay, 895 is unbelievable. It's more than unbelievable. But you know what? He's still 80 goals behind Gordy all time, including the WHA. So that's an NHL record. Yeah. Your thoughts on that, John?
You know what? I'm not gonna. I don't know.
You're a WHA guy. You went to see the Toronto Toros.
Yeah, I just
you're
just enjoy the moment.
Your audio
it doesn't really.
Okay.
It just, I was saying that it for me, it's just not something that I don't really care either way. I'm more focused on the NHL record and what he did.
Of course.
I'm just going to enjoy this, and and so I don't know. I wish I could give you a more intelligent answer, but I'm not very bright.
I don't expect intelligent answers out of you. You know better than that. Okay. So anyway, so the bottom line with the WHA, we're going to end it there on that note, right? Did you never saw Gordy play in the WHA, did you? Or do you recall?
I don't think I did. I may have seen the kids play. I'm trying to remember. I mean, I'm trying to remember.
Okay.
I just
I know. It's just a fun memory if you can recall it. That's
all. I don't know. Maybe I did. I just it's not resonating.
Okay. Well, I got to see him play when he was with the Wings, still in the first time.
Yeah.
And even then, as he was aging, he still had no problem throwing elbows and banging the crap out of people.
Yes. Nothing wrong with that.
Exactly. So before we go into the standings and get into this last week of the regular season, thoughts on, which I saw something on NHL Network tonight, your wonderful Mount Rushmore of players in the history of the league, not the WHA.
Okay.
Because I have mine, and I'm just curious what yours are.
Oh my God, my Mount Rushmore. Well, I mean that's
It's a fun question. It's not the end of the world if you don't get it right, because there is no right.
Right. I mean, look, Wayne's there. I have to put Sid in there right now, just because I think he should be in there. I'll put Sid in there. I don't know. I saw Gordy play on TV. I don't know if I ever got to see him live. But it's Mario to me, just people couldn't do what he did. I mean, so, and if I had to add a fourth, oh my God. I mean,
I don't want to stump you. This is just a fun question.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Could you put, it's not sexy answer, but the Richards were always great, the pocket rocket and the rocket. I mean, so I don't know. I mean, Mark Messier could go there for different reasons.
Right. Well, my Mount Rushmore was easy for me. Okay. So it's Wayne, it's Mario, because Mario to me is the greatest all-around player who ever lived.
Yeah.
And I mean, he just does stuff and because of his reach and his size makes it ridiculous. Okay. He's just from another planet. And if he was healthy, a lot of those unbelievable Gretzky records probably wouldn't be there.
Fair.
That's all I'm saying. Then I'm throwing in Gordy because you can't be Mr. Hockey and not be on Mount Rushmore. Okay. The guy was ridiculous. And again, he leads all-time goal scorers in both leagues by 80 right now. I don't care what you think of the WHA. That's ridiculous.
No, I loved it. Go ahead. Okay.
Yeah, and number 4 is number 4, Bobby Orr.
Yeah. Oh, right, Bobby Orr. Right there, you go. I mean,
change the game
as much. 100%. I love your yes. I will take the rocket. Yes, Bobby Orr has to be in there. 100%.
Okay. Anyway, that was just a fun little segment there. Okay, let's get to what's going on here in the last several days. What is it? About 10 days left in the season now. We got
17th is the last day. So again, I wasn't prepared for math, but
that's all right. It's all good. Here's the Western Conference playoffs, and your thoughts overall on what you're expecting here.
Well, look, I mean, Calgary's got the big game against Minnesota this week, but ultimately it may not matter if Minnesota wins 2 of their remaining 4 games. Calgary has to win out. So even if they lose to Calgary has to go 5-0 the rest of the way. Or if Minnesota earns 4 points in any fashion, Calgary has to go 5-0. So it's been, that's a pretty tall order for the Calgary Flames. I mean, everybody else is, Vancouver, they'll be officially eliminated, I would expect, tonight. Utah, thanks, but no thanks. And then it really just comes down
your audio is freezing again.
Has a remote possibility that they could finish first, but the big thing is just and I still think the Kings will finish second. So I think that right now it's really who's wild card 1 and 2, and between Minnesota and Dallas, because I just don't think Calgary's in. So everything else, we'll see how it all plays out.
Let's go to the East. What are your thoughts?
Well, I mean, look, this is a huge game tonight that just got underway in Montreal with the Canadiens and the Red Wings. Detroit has to win this game. Well, they don't have to, but it would be very ideal if they win this game in regulation and not give Montreal the loser point, because the Canadiens look like they, one of the biggest surprises in the NHL this year.
Just going to ask you about
the playoffs. Yep. And, as I think I mentioned to you last week, in the Canadiens' history, they've never gone 4 consecutive years with missing the playoffs, and they're at 3 going into this year. So that would be, again, that streak would be, that would continue of never going 4 consecutive years. What's gone on with the Rangers? I mean, last night was it was pretty bad. Peter Laviolette, very upset with his team. There was talk, Ted, that he didn't go into the room after the game. I heard Mike Fuda talking today on the Fan, the hockey show that he does Monday through Friday, that it's, most coaches don't, or many coaches don't go in the room after a loss. So don't read into it. read into more about what he said after the game, and he's at a loss.
Exactly.
And again, I don't think we talked about this last week, but you and I think have had the conversation before, Ted. People go through Peter Laviolette's coaching history. His second full season, every stop, the points have gone down. This is year 2 in New York.
So you think there's a we stop listening kind of an effect?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Why do you think, by the way? Is it the way he comes across? I mean, he's a different kind of guy, but nothing unusual.
Look, I'm guessing that look, and he's got a cup to He's got a cup to his name, right?
Exactly.
Look, I think that obviously the stern attitude just doesn't work. Today it's not like when Mike Keenan was coaching. Mike. Right. I had enough people tell me, they hated, couldn't stand him, but they respected him. And, so it's, maybe look, it's partly Laviolette, and I think it's partly the attitude of players today, but it just wears on you. And look, to that point, if you're Peter Laviolette, like, you got to adjust. Like that's on you. You can control your behavior. You've got to be a parent to 20 kids. So, at some point he's just got to adjust.
Okay. So they're not playing up to their standards of the last few years, but how much credit goes to the teams that's jumped ahead of them, and like Detroit and Montreal, who are doing things that we didn't necessarily expect this season?
Okay. We'll give Montreal credit. And I think, full marks to the Canadians. I think that in the Rangers case, I think there's some issues with the roster. They've made a huge commitment, this year to Igor Shesterkin.
Yeah.
I understand it. I hate it. I don't really think that's a conversation for another day.
Okay.
Detroit's got a lot of skill, weak on the back end. Right now, Cam Talbot is playing his.
You're freezing again.
When Cam Talbot plays at a very high level, he's a very good goalie, and he's doing that right now. But look, I think the Red Wings have just, they're running out of racetrack. But it's really about the Canadians. It's really about what they've done, and the couple of things that stand out for me for the Canadian season. One was the trade for Alexander Carrier from Nashville to bolster their blue line.
Right.
And two was, my understanding was that Nick Suzuki and I think Caulfield both went into management and said, don't trade anybody. Please, we want to win with this group. We can do it. And so, we talked about what that LA locker room must be like. Have to believe it's very similar in Montreal.
Yeah, that's good. That's really good. So before we let this thing end on a wonderful note, I want to talk about Gretzky and how he basically honored Gordie Howe this past week. I don't know how many people actually noticed it, but check out what he's wearing, the pin on his jacket. How's that for having his idol there with him? Yeah. I mean, and I want to show a picture that Wayne and I took at Pebble Beach, I don't know, several years ago, 10 years ago, whatever it was. Wayne Gretzky has a Gordie Howe putter. Check this baby out.
Oh, wow.
There's a number 9 putter, and it's one of his prized possessions. And I said, Wayne, I got to get a picture of that, please. And we took it, and he keeps it in his golf bag, and it's a total class. But what is that? How great is that, right?
That's
that
awesome.
His idol is long gone, and he is still just treasuring the hell out of their life together.
Well, I mean, look, Wayne's appreciation for the history and respect for the history of the game is just it's off the charts.
It really is.
Yeah,
it really is. And my other favorite thing from what Ovechkin did when he tied the record on home ice was how his son was on the ice level, and he gave him a little high five through the glass. I mean, can you imagine doing that? And you're a father, your son is there. Come on. I mean, that's from another universe.
It is. Look, Ted, the closest thing for me, and was watching. I could see look, we were on the ice when the Kings won in 12 and 14.
Yeah.
We had that privilege, looking in the stands and seeing my son there as well and how excited he was. That's as close as I'll ever get to what Ovechkin went through. But it is special. Look, when you can live those memories with your kids, it's fantastic.
It really is. Any last thoughts going into basically the end of the season almost? When we come back next week, we'll be down to the last few days.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just, I'm waiting. I'm excited to see if the Canadians clinch, and I'm looking forward to just to see how things shake out in the West. I'm a big Vegas guy. I mean, not just going to go gamble. I mean, I really like the Golden Knights, and so I'm looking forward to whoever they play in that opening round.
Yeah, by the way, that's one of the reasons Kings fans despise you, because you like the Golden Knights.
Yeah, well, they despise me for a lot of reasons, but
by the way, you got a last minute betting tip for us here?
Yeah, I do. So tonight, the Kraken, who you got to see in person at Crypto.com Arena, are in Utah tonight.
Okay.
They are 0-11 this year, Ted, on the back end of back-to-backs. They've lost 10 of the 11, I believe, by 2 goals or more, and they've scored 2 goals or less in 10 of the 11.
Wow.
So the bet would be Seattle under 2.5 goals, and Utah to win the game by at least 2 goals. That would be the play. Now, Utah has lost twice to Seattle this year, but this is a really bad spot. I don't know the last time a team that was this bad on the second half of back-to-backs.
Oh, that's fascinating stuff. And there's Danny Bilesma, my old buddy from the Long Beach Ice Dogs 30 years ago. Nice when we had a good chat after the game last night. Danny, I said to him, 30 block shots? He goes, is that how many we had? He hadn't even had a chance to look at the stats yet. I said, that's pretty damn good, bud.
That's Danny Bilesma hockey.
That's exactly what I said to him. He's the one, he was not the most talented player by far, but he blocked shots and he was on penalty kills. And I said, and I looked it up today, John. Last year they were barely in the top 25 in block shots. They're 8th in the league this year. So there's a little carryover, nice effect for the new coach, right?
Well, that does. I mean, look, it does say something that, this team at this time of the year where they're at is still playing hard hockey. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And last thing, this save last night by Darcy Kemper was from another universe. This was insanely good.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, it was. It was remarkable. Absolutely remarkable.
It really was. Kings hit a couple of posts last night. Welcome to Puck Luck, baby. Oh, I forgot that doesn't exist. That's what you told me. Somebody told you. Well, John, thanks again for a good show. Appreciate it. Let's have some fun next week, baby. Are you coming to any games?
I'll be there Thursday night for sure.
Okay. The Ducks and the Kings.
The
rivalry that doesn't exist until they hate each other during the regular season when it matters.
Exactly.
All right.
Exactly.
That's Jonathan Davis. I'm Ted Sobel. Hope you enjoyed Home Ice Advantage. That's what everybody's looking for in the next 2 weeks. Got to have home ice, baby. We'll talk to you next week. Thanks for watching, everybody.